Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Skycast, the podcast from Skydive Empuriabrava. Today, here with us today, we have Edu Simo, who is one of the pilots here in Skydive Empuriabrava, and we will be talking about aviation specific to skydiving. Edu, thank you very much for taking the time to be here with us today and to explain to us a little bit what you do to bring us all to the sky.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations for your podcast.
Thank you. I'm going to start out a little bit. You've been flying for Skydive Empuriabrava, I believe, upwards of 20 years. Is that correct?
Yes, started here at the end of 2003. At the beginning, just for the Cessna for pleasure flights and instruction. But after a few months, or beginning of 2004, I started with skydiving. So over 20 years, 22 years now.
How do you become a skydiving pilot? I assume you start out private pilot, commercial. What's kind of the aviation iter?
Well, at that time, like everybody that just has the license, you just want to get some hours to get experience to be able to have a job. So they got me here basically because I have experience in the tail dragger. So with the two wheels in the front, one wheel in the tail, that's what they needed for the pilotos. At that time I had some hours in a Piper Super Cup, the little one, the EP.6, doing some banner flights and photography. So they gave me the chance to start here, to fly the pilotos. The beginning, the first couple of years, it was just pilotos. Then when I had some experience, I did the twin otter as well.
How many hours did it take you to get to a place where you were ready to throw people out of your airplane?
Well, to have the experience to fly the pilotos, it's one thing, you know, you get the rating, you're free to fly the pilotos, but then to do the part of the job where you can throw the skydivers, it's something different. I think at the beginning with the pilotos, it took me like 200 flights, would be like around 30 hours, more or less.
Okay.
I was young, I was new, it was pretty much first job, and everything was new, so yeah.
But what I understand that flying for skydiving is actually a fairly complicated and specific flying. So what are the, I guess, particularities and challenges?
It depends on the plane, it depends on the area where you're flying. We mostly fly here. We barely go out and fly for an event outside. We've done it sometimes, we do some ferries, but it depends on the area where you are. The more time you spend on your area, the more you're gonna know your backyard. And then it depends on the plane as well. Pilatus is difficult in a way that it's difficult to fly the plane, to land and take off. Then it's funny to fly, and then it's kind of the easiest to throw the skydivers because you fly slow and there's not much going on. You don't have to set flap, you just fly slow. The other ones are bigger, and big things that can happen is to change the center of gravity and to change the speed during the jump run.
Because during the jump run you have to slow down, I understand, to a point where you're pretty close to too slow.
Exactly.
And so you have to set the plane up
exactly.
to give it more lift while the people jump out,
exactly.
correct?
Yeah. Well, it will depend, no? Sometimes depends on the wind that you have on jump run, you want to go slow or not. Because if you have a lot of wind, like those days that we have 40, 50 knots headwind, you don't want to go that slow, because then you will have to give more separation in between the groups. But in normal conditions, you will set some flap to slow down, and you are close to the stall speed. And then in a twin otter that is quite long, we could say, people are moving, and then you have to compensate that movement of the people doing back and forth.
Which I assume is something that is very felt, because I mean sometimes we feel it as skydivers when there's a big group going out before you actually feel the plane moving around.
Yeah.
So, but how do you learn how to do that? It's just something that comes with feeling?
Yes, and experience, and you have to listen to your colleagues that done it before. And at the end, it's very important, the communication with the skydiver, that they have to tell you if you have a big group or not. And if you do, it's better to have it at the beginning of the jump run and not at the end, because normally you will set the plane for a slower speed, but at the end, if you have a 15-way, when you're flying to have a 2-way, it's very different. Once it happened to me, it was a 15-way free flight. It was going last, and I set the plane to fly a twin otter at 55 knots with 20 degrees flap, which is pretty slow, close to stall. And they started going to the door, and you were trimming, get to the top, and the plane is still going nose up. And then you just wait for them to jump out or
get out.
Or get out, please.
But so effectively, it's a very, I guess, dynamic and active. You're consistently doing. You don't just cruise. You're consistently changing everything.
You couldn't use an autopilot to do this job. You could use it just for the climb up, but then for the jump run, you couldn't use an autopilot.
Is that a positive thing? The fact that you're actually really flying, right?
Yes, it is.
And then on top of the center of gravity and the slowing down, etc., you also have the whole issue with the spot, which every it's not something you get up in the morning and say here and just keep it there, right?
No. Mostly when you check the winds, you know it's going to be that way. But nowadays that we have so much information, it helps, but it gives you the chance to be checking constantly and updating the spot constantly. And with the stuff that we have, the great stuff that we have, Stevo and Pelon and everybody, you check in mostly almost every load and moving the spot almost on every load to try to do it the better as possible.
But so essentially it's something that every single load you do is different flying based on the groups you have, based on the spot, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Does that keep it interesting?
Yeah, I guess some other pilots, they will get bored of that, and it depends on the character of each one, not what you want to do. At the end, it's so hard to get to do everything in aviation, all the possibilities that you have. There's just a few people that can do something like that. That can touch every little part of the aviation, and normally when you get to a branch of the aviation, you will keep that way.
Which kind of makes sense. I think in general in life you kind of take a direction and keep growing in that direction. Exactly. And in terms of safety considerations, just I go into a little bit about what makes skydiving safe in terms of
aviation?
Exactly, the aviation part of skydiving.
Well, I guess the airplanes are in a good shape, good maintenance. We have Ilari doing a great job. And at the end, the limitations of a skydiver in terms of weather, they are always higher than in a plane. The visibility, the clouds, the icing, the wind. So we're never going to get to the limit of a plane before. Well, sometimes we do, but in the older days it was more common to get to the limit of the plane. Nowadays it's more common to get to the limit of the skydivers. We don't want to go in these conditions, icing or whatever. So we don't have really opportunities or situations in that we get to a dangerous situation.
But so the safety is more in how people behave in the airplane, the boarding, the exiting, and not so much the flying.
Yeah, exactly. At the end, most aviation accidents or incidents, it will happen on the ground. Because you're close to obstacles and people sometimes get too intense or too dumb and they can walk into the wrong direction, go into the propeller of the plane
Yeah, and I mean, that's another component that you guys have to deal with is the fact that there are
excitement around.
People walking around it must keep it interesting, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
And in terms of, I mean, here sometimes, well, quite regularly actually, you fly some formations, you fly big ways. What's the most challenging, in your experience, what's the most challenging for a skydive pilot scenario, I guess?
Well, as you say, probably a big way with lots of planes. What we've done here, we did in 2012, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with 7 planes and all with different. We had 7 planes and 5 different kind of airplanes, so that was really a challenge. And we went. There was a lot of skydivers trying to get the record, and it was quite some tensions because they didn't. The belly flyers they did easily. The free flyers they didn't, and we were under kind of pressure. But at the end, we did it quite well. and it worked. We had fun. It was challenging, but we had fun.
But those are satisfactions, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that, I mean, I see it here when there are the big waves. It's serious focus. I mean, it's a different way of flying, I think, in general formations, even if you don't have 5 different aircraft.
Yes. You have to really focus on that, and certain things that you don't care so much. You don't care about the spot so much if it's 150 meters left or right, because you don't want to change the direction of the plane in the last 30 seconds because you want to keep your colleagues behind not distracted with turning, banking left or right. So if the spot is going 150 meters out, is not going to be the end of the world.
But I assume when there are formation flights, you guys have your whole brief. I mean, everything is very specific and detailed. I mean, just like skydiving. And that I'm going to kind of take a little detour here because you also did your AFF.
I did, a long time ago, yeah.
How was the experience to be?
It was nice, I loved it. But of skydiving, the free fly is intense, I like it. But I really enjoyed the flight under canopy. So when you open the parachute and you look at your legs and your leg straps and you see I'm hanging from a piece of fabric and I can really steer and move. I'm still falling, but it's nice. I like it.
Were there similarities in the piloting the canopy and piloting a plane?
Yeah.
Because in the end, aerodynamics is aerodynamics.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Same.
How about like flying your body in the free fall part? Did you see any similarities?
I don't have so many jumps I did around 30 jumps in spread in many years, so I don't have the ability to do that.
Okay.
I was kind of tracking and I couldn't track. I was going to the right or to the left. So.
But I mean, I think in the end, the body, for those that know how to fly, because for me the same, like I just kind of fall.
It's like a wing, no?
It's a wing.
No.
I mean, there are actually some skydivers that use their hands like
shoulders,
flaps.
Yeah.
It's
incredible. Aerodynamics. Yeah.
It's aerodynamics. In the end, things all fly the same, right?
Exactly.
And what about, I mean, here mostly it's the Twin Otters and the Pilatus. What's your favorite plane?
From them both, it's hard to tell, because to work in a summer day, super busy and lots of flights, it's probably more comfortable to fly the Twin. But I really enjoy flying the Pilatus because it's more maneuverable and I don't know, I feel it more like part of me.
And also this Pilatus that we have back here actually has a history that really it's from a Hollywood film, the Vietnam War and blind. Do you ever think that? Do you ever think that you're actually flying if you think about everything this aircraft did, you're flying a piece of history. It's crazy. Does that ever occur to you?
Not often, no. I think about when it was almost gone. 6 years ago, and I'm really glad and happy that it's back. But yeah, you're right. It should think more often about what this plane has seen.
Imagine, I mean, it's saw the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
But what makes it? Because we were talking in the beginning about the fact that it's a tail dragger.
Yeah.
That adds a complication just in the visual of landing, or is there?
I cannot really tell you the facts now because I don't remember. But for sure there's a difference on the angle of attack. There are ways of flying it as well. You wouldn't fly a tail dragger like a Super Cub the same way that you fly a Pilatus. But yeah, the complicated thing is the crosswind mostly, and the fact that as you were saying, that you cannot see the runway.
Okay.
When you're flat and when you're landing. But the tail will affect you in a way, the wind will affect you, the crosswind, in a way that wouldn't affect in another plane. But
what about with the sky, like when you're throwing skydivers, is there a difference in the feeling and?
Not really.
Because it's a very stable aircraft, right?
Yes, it is. When you do practices, like you do a skill test and things like this, and you really look for the stall, it's an aircraft that just beeps for the stall and itself goes back to stable speed. It's
an amazing airplane, right?
It is.
I see how this plane wants to fly with. It takes nothing to take off.
It's really a nice plane. Yeah, I enjoy it really much.
And the twin you like as well, right?
Yes, as I was saying, to do the job is the plane. I would say it's the right plane to do skydiving, big groups and tandems. I think it's the right plane to do it. I don't know the Skyvan, for example. I know the Beechcraft. It was a really fun plane to fly, but it wasn't for skydiving.
It was a more complicated
gear and too high on speed for skydivers, but you were close to stall on the jump run. It was a bit messy, and then the Caravan I haven't flown so much, so I cannot really tell you. I know it's used all around the world more and more, and there are some other planes, Kodiak and Caravans and Dorniers.
But in the end, the Pilatus and the Twin Otter are...
I think it's a great combination. Yeah.
And since we're almost out of time, just what is your favorite thing about flying for skydiving?
I think the fact that you can interact with your colleagues and with the customers, not the fun jumpers and the passengers of tandem, and your colleagues. You are all the time talking to them and getting communication that you wouldn't do in a commercial airplane. You just talk to your friend there, or not friends. You don't have to be your friend. So I think that we are all a good team. We know each other. We are like a big family, and that's great.
And then the last thing before we close, an advice to skydivers that are getting on the plane. What's an advice maybe about the attitude or just whatever you think is important that skydivers know in terms of their relationship with the aircraft?
There's a saying when I started in aviation that they always told me it's better to be on the ground wanting to be in the air than be in the air wanting to be on the ground. So sometimes you have to think about when they set a jump limit 400 and they say, oh, but I have 390 jumps, and think about why did they set the jump limit. And it's maybe better to stay on the ground and wait for the next chance.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, a really good suggestion for everything.
Yeah.
Whenever you're in the sky.
Don't push the limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you very much,
Thank
Edu.
you.
And with this very good advice of don't push the limit, better to be on the ground wishing you were in the sky than the other way around, I thank you all for following us, and stay tuned the next episode soon.